What's up, everyone? My name is Keon, and I'm an NASM certified personal trainer, and I'm going to be taking you through this fitness workshop. So what this workshop basically is a low intensity exercises for beginners who are struggling with weight issues. So what I'm going to do is give a few examples of some good low intensity, low impact cardio exercises and take you through a short circuit, and then get into some resistance exercises that include some core and balance work. And so with that said, let's hop right into it. So some good low intensity, low impact exercise, cardio exercises include anything from walking to walking outside, which is a great option, walking on a treadmill. If you have access, you can use other cardio machines such as rowing machines, stationary cycling, if you have access to those at your house, or if your gym is still currently open and you feel comfortable going there. Swimming is also a great option if you have access to a pool. So all of these different things are very low impact, which is good for the joints. And then you can also monitor the intensity yourself to make sure that you're in the right intensity region. And so for novices who are dealing with weight issues, I suggest not really at this moment exercising uh, above 60-ish% of your heart rate max. And an easy way to monitor this yourself is through what's called the talk test. So this is basically if you're exercising and you can't finish a complete sentences or maintain a conversation with someone, that basically means that you're exercising higher than 60-ish% of your heart rate max. So if you can maintain complete sentences and have a conversation while you're exercising, then you're in that 60% of your heart rate max region. So throughout this workshop, I'll be coming back to that. That's kind of like the zone that I want you to be in for the time being. So with that said, I'm going to hop into this circuit that I have for you. So if those other methods of cardio don't suit you, or you find them boring and whatnot, then you could try this circuit out. And so let's get right into it. So I'm gonna set this right here. And so just to start, we're going to warm up with some marches in place. So you're just going to march in place. You're going to do this for a minute. And while you're doing this, make sure you bring your knees up, opposite arm up, and you can speed it up a little bit. You want to keep your core tight that whole time, squeeze those abs. Okay, and you're just going to do this for a minute. And after a minute of this, once you get warm and your blood flowing, you're going to go into athletic side steps. So what that is, you're going to get into a semi-squat position, just on the side, just a short bend in your knees, a slight bend, and you're just going to take steps to the side. Okay, so I took about 5 steps one way. I'm going to do 5 the other way. And you can do this for a minute as well. Okay, just going back and forth. Very low intensity. See, I can maintain a conversation with you, so I'm in the right region. And you're just going to do this for a minute. So after a minute of that, we're going to go back to marching in place. Make sure you keep your abs tight. Make sure you're keeping your abs tight on the side steps as well. And if at any time you feel like you can't complete your sentences or have a conversation, then that means you should likely reduce your intensity. So after a minute of marching in place again, we're going to do some punches. So keep your core tight and just punch across, okay? And squeeze your glutes while you do this too, to generate some power, okay? So we're just going to punch across, get that heart rate up a little bit, but not too high, and just do this for a minute, okay? So after a minute of that, you're going to march in place again, okay? Really simple. Very low impact. There's no jumping or running here. We're just going to be doing very low impact movements. Okay, after a minute of this, we're going to go into basically a deadlift, but it's just going to be a toe touch with a reach at the top. So I'm going to lower this down so you can see it better. Basically, you're going to keep your core tight, squeeze your glutes, and just go down, hinge at your hips, and then reach up. Touch down and reach up. So what that looks like from the side, core tight, squeeze your glutes. You're going to push your hips back like this. Make sure your back is nice and straight, not like this, not rounded up like this. Nice and straight. Make sure that core is tight. Push your hips back and touch down and up. You don't have to touch your toes. You don't have to go all the way down. You could go to about your ankles, okay? And just squeeze with your glutes to bring yourself up and then back down, okay? And then reach up. So what I'm doing at the top is going to be, let me go down and then up. And you're just going to do this again for a minute. And after this, back to marching in place for a minute. Okay, so like I said, very short, very low intensity, low impact. And you could do that, finish up with the marches again for a minute. And once you're done with that, that is a 7-minute circuit that you can repeat. I would suggest repeating 3 to 5 times. And if you enjoyed that, and you go ahead and go with that. Obviously, there's tons of different exercises and movements that you can do that are out there online for you to find. These are just a few that I picked just to quickly give you an idea of what you can do. If you go on YouTube, for example, and you search low intensity, low impact cardio exercises, you can find a ton of other circuits just like this on there that may better suit you. But like I said, these are just a couple of things that I picked out. But what I really wanted to get into is resistance training, because that's where I think is the most important type of exercise in my opinion. And so let's get right into it. So with this resistance training exercises that I have selected, you're going to need a few dumbbells. You could use very lightweight dumbbells. This is what I suggest, getting somewhere between 3 and 10 pounds maybe. If you're stronger, maybe going up a little bit higher than that, but probably no more than 12 to 15 pounds. And basically how this is going to work is I'm going to take you through what's called a peripheral heart action system. So what that is you basically, it's a circuit where you alternate between upper body and lower body exercises. And what this does is it makes your heart pump blood to your upper body and your lower body, and constantly cycling through that, which really improves your circulation. And because it's a circuit, it also gives the added benefit of having some a cardio type stimulus as well. So you get the benefits of using the weights and having that stimulus on your muscles that resistance training gives you, but also elevating your heart rate in the way that a cardio exercise would. So with that said, let's get into it. So I have with me a pair of 3-pound dumbbells just to demonstrate the exercises that I'm going to be using. Just like this, very convenient. Like I said, I'd really suggest that you pick up a pair of dumbbells between 3 to 10 pounds that shouldn't be too expensive, and it would really benefit your training. So with that said, first exercise of the circuit is going to be a single leg row. And so before I get started, I actually want to talk about this. So a lot of the exercises, the dumbbell exercises that I have are going to be single leg variations of exercises normally performed on both legs. And so the benefit of this is, one, it's harder, so you don't need as much weight. And two, it requires a lot more stability. It requires more stability from your legs, from your core, and from your entire body in general. And so what this does is, because it requires so much stabilization, it recruits more muscle fibers overall than if you were to do these exercises on both legs, but with heavier dumbbells. You might not be building as much muscle mass, at least with in terms of the specific muscle group that's being targeted, but overall you're recruiting more muscle fibers, and what this does is it burns more calories, which is what our goal is, obviously. So with that said, all of these exercises, or not all of these, but most of these exercises that I have will be performed on a single leg, or at least I'll demonstrate them on a single leg. If at any time that you feel you can't maintain balance while doing them, you feel free to go back to double leg until you're capable of maintaining your balance on a single leg. So with that said, let's get into it. So the first exercise that I have is just a single leg row. So you're just gonna prop up on one leg here, bring the other one up. Key here is to keep your core tight and really squeeze this glute that's attached to the leg on the floor. Okay, you're just gonna bend over like such, maintaining that stiff core and squeezing your glute. And you're basically just going to pull with your back muscles like this up to your stomach. Make sure you're squeezing your back muscles together. Make sure you're squeezing your shoulder blades together, and you're initiating the pull from your back muscles, not from your elbows. Okay, and what it looks like from the side. Squeeze that core, okay? Get on one leg, bend over a little bit, and it's hard to do when I'm trying to see myself in the camera, but squeeze that core, squeeze this glute, and basically just roll up to your stomach. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Okay? Just like that. So that'll be a single leg row. Like I said, if that's too difficult for you, just go on to both legs. And the same idea, shoulder blades down and back, and row. And squeeze those shoulder blades together. Okay? So that's the first upper body exercise. From there, we can move into the lower body exercise. The first one I have is just a traditional squat. So I'm going to show you my lower body for this. I tend to teach the squat differently than a lot of trainers and physical therapists out there because of anatomical and biomechanical differences. I believe that really just finding a squat stance that fits, that's comfortable for you and allows you to hit the depth, the most depth is what you should use. So I tend to like to use a little bit of a wider stance with my feet flared out. A lot of other trainers and therapists will tell you need to be shoulder width apart, feet straight ahead, and I just think that's wrong. Not everyone has the right femur length and femur attachment at the hip joint to comfortably squat in this way. So find a position, foot position, and foot stance width that is comfortable for you, okay? And just give me some squats. So with this, again, keep that core tight, squeeze those abs. When you're going down, you want to drive your knees outward so you can engage your glutes a little bit more. Okay, how I like to think about this is pretend you're standing on a piece of paper and you're trying to rip that paper apart with your feet, okay? So as you go down, you're trying to rip that piece of paper apart. It causes you to drive your knees out and you can engage your glutes a little bit more. So from the side, if on your squat, this is as far as you can get comfortably without any pain, that's fine, do that for now. If you can go here without any pain, even better. If you can go all the way down as far as possible, great too. The different depths are going to work the muscle a little bit differently, but I want you to just hit the depth that you can comfortably hit. I don't want you, if you have pain and mobility restrictions, force yourself into that deep squat position. Don't do that. Work on your strength, work on your mobility, and eventually you'll be able to hit those depths, okay? So, like I said, find a stance that's comfortable, tight stomach, tight abs, drive your feet outward, hit a squat depth that's comfortable for you, and back up, okay? And then back, just like that. Okay, so that's the first lower body exercise. And with all of these exercises, I forgot to mention, you want to be in the higher rep range, so 15 to 20 reps. So pick a weight that you can do that with. If you can't hit that many, like 15 to 20 reps on these body weight exercises, that like a squat and later on have a lunge, that's fine. Do as many as you can if you can't hit that number yet. Okay, so if you can't hit 15 to 20, do as many as you can. So first we had the row, then we had squats. Now we're going to get into a single leg curl into a shoulder press. So again, up on one leg, core tight, glutes squeezed. It's gonna give me a classic bicep curl to a shoulder press, okay? Curl to shoulder press. And you can do a bunch of variations of this. You could do a classic bicep curl like such, okay? You can even do a hammer curl where you have a neutral grip like this, and then you go into your shoulder press. You can also do either one of those, a curl or a hammer curl. And once you get here, instead of doing a classic shoulder press like this with your palms facing out, you could do a neutral shoulder press like this. Whatever is comfortable for you. The difference between the curls is it works the bicep and the forearm a little bit differently. This is more bicep activation. This is less bicep activation, but more forearm activation. So, but I just recommend just doing classic curl to press like that, okay? And whole time keeping your abs tight and squeezing your glute. And one thing I should mention is throughout the circuit, you can do it all on one leg, and then when you're going back through it the second time, switch legs, or you can switch legs between each exercise. You can do as you please, but as long as you do it equally on both legs. Okay. So that curl to overhead press was the second upper body exercise. Now we're gonna go into another lower body exercise. Just a classic lunge. So you're gonna start with your feet together, or feet about shoulder width apart, and then you're just gonna step forward and go down. Don't let your knee touch the ground. You're gonna feel it in this quad and then in the opposite glute, and you just come back up. So what that looks like from the side, tight abs, feet relatively close together, and you go down. Don't let the knee touch the ground. Don't let it touch the ground. Right here, you feel it in this quad and in this glute. Try to stay upright as well, and then you go up, okay? And so what you can do is you can do those lunges. You can also do it in a walking fashion. You can go like this, and then go here, and then go as far out as you want, and then come back. Or you can even do, if you have pain in your knee when you do a forward lunge, okay, you could do a reverse lunge like that. And a lot of people find this is easier on their front knee, so on this knee and on this knee, right there. And so if you have knee pain while doing lunges, that's something you could do. And again, 15 to 20 reps on each side, okay? So that's kind of a lot, but that's what I prefer you do. If you can't hit that, do as many as you can. If lunges are too difficult for you, you could just replace it with squats again, okay? And then, so that's the next lower body exercise. After that, we can go into incline push-ups, basically. So what an incline push-up is you find an elevated surface, like a table, a bench, a chair, a bed, put your hands on it, okay? I like to have my feet a little bit apart, not right together, just because it allows me to squeeze my glutes a little bit better. And what you're gonna do is keep your abs tight, squeeze those glutes, and just go down like that, okay? If that's too hard for you, do the same thing, but from your knees. So abs tight, squeeze your glutes, and just go like that. And this is gonna work your chest, as well as gonna give a little bit of help from your triceps and your front deltoid, okay? Key here with any type of push-up though is to keep your abs and glutes tight, because you don't want your lower back to look like this. You don't want it to look like this. You want it to be neutral, just like that. Okay? And the way you do that is by squeezing this and squeezing that. And right now, I want to just take a second to say the reason I'm having you do incline push-ups instead of just normal push-ups or even decline push-ups where your feet are up is because those who have weight issues also tend to have blood pressure issues as well. So if you are someone that has hypertension, or in other words, high blood pressure, it's a good idea to keep your head above your heart as often as possible, especially for long duration movements. So like, for example, push up, your head is in line with your heart. If you were to do a decline push up, your head will be below your heart. For this reason, and this position can actually further elevate your heart rate. So that's why I went with the incline push up variation. This is also why I'd suggest, if you have high blood pressure, to avoid any movements where you're laying on your back or on your stomach and doing an exercise for an extended period of time. So all of the exercises that I'm going to take you through today are going to be avoiding those positions, and I'll come back to this again at the end. But so that's the next upper body exercise. And so now we're going to get into a single leg deadlift as the next lower body exercise. So how this is going to look, you have your dumbbells here, and you're going to get on one foot, squeeze your abs, squeeze this glute, make sure your shoulder blades are pulled down and back, and I'll show it to you from the side in a second. But you want to make sure you're standing up nice and tall. Basically, you're just going to push your hips back again and then go down nice and slowly. Make sure your back leg is out behind you, fully extended, and you're just going to come back up. And see, look, if you fall, it's okay. Just have your foot here to balance you. And so basically, squeeze your abs, squeeze your glutes, and go down nice and slow, and then come back up. So what this looks like from the side, basically, you don't want your shoulders rounded. You want to pull your shoulders back. Get on one foot, squeeze your abs, squeeze the glute, and you're just going to go nice and slow with your back leg straight behind you. And then you come up. Okay, try it on the other leg too. Yeah, nice and slow. Back leg out behind you. And come up. For in terms of how far down to go, I go again for right about your mid shin or ankle height. You don't need to touch the ground. In terms of the movement itself, this is not a squat. You're not going down like this. You're pushing your hips back. It's a hip hinge. So what it looks like is you're sitting your hips back. You're pushing your hips back as you go down. And this can be very tough to balance on. It's a very difficult movement, but it's a very good movement. So if you can do it, I recommend you do. If you can't, you can definitely switch over to a double leg variation. And so again, all the same cues. You just push your hips back, but you're on both legs. And as you come up, you're really squeezing your glutes, okay, to drive your hips out. So right here, squeeze your glutes, drive your hips out. If that's too easy for you, but you can't quite do single leg yet, what you can do is use your back leg as a kickstand. So instead of going completely single leg like this, you can have your back leg just very lightly hovering and touching the ground, but you're putting absolutely zero pressure through it. So just there to provide you with stability, and you do the exact same movement. Okay? So you have that there. But like I said, you're putting no pressure through it if you're using the kickstand. Okay, so now that was the next lower body exercise. So we're gonna go into an upper body movement. And we're just gonna do a tricep extension. So again, you're gonna be on one leg, okay? So you're on one leg, and you're gonna have your dumbbell. You could do both at a time, like this, or you could just do one at a time. It's a little bit awkward to do both at once. Well, basically, you just have your dumbbell here, and you bring it down and up, down and up. Okay. If you don't like doing it overhead, what you could do is a tricep kickback. So you get on one leg again, bend over, and you just kick your tricep back like that, and really squeeze the tricep. Now, this one is a little bit more comfortable to do both at once if you prefer to do that. So that option is there. But again, make sure the whole time you're keeping your abs tight and your glute tight. So one more time, I show you. Just like this. You don't need to be completely parallel. Have a nice angle there, just like on the rows. Just kick those triceps back. Okay. And then, so that was our upper body movement. We're gonna go into a lower body movement. And what we're gonna do here is going to be a wall sit. Okay. So I'm gonna show you a wall sit from this angle. Okay, so you just find a wall, put your butt up against it, back as well, and get into a nice 90-degree angle. And ideally, you want to hold this for at least 30 seconds. If that's too difficult for you, you could start off a little bit higher, like such, and eventually work your way down to doing it at this angle. Other things you can also do to make it tougher for you is you could do one leg. So you can have one leg at this angle and hold this. You can even go farther down if you'd like, okay? And if none of those variations work for you, you could also have your dumbbells or any other weight that you have on your lap as you're doing the exercise. So if you don't want to do a single leg and you're becoming too strong with the double leg to the point where you're at 30 seconds is not enough time for you, you can start stacking the weight on your lap as you do it. Okay, so that's the next, that was a lower body exercise. And then the last upper body exercise I have for you is a single leg lateral raise. So again, up on one leg, core tight, glute tight, and you're just going to bring your arms out to the side like this. And it's working the lateral head of your shoulder, lateral deltoid. So from the side, what this looks like is like this. Okay, slight bend in the arms, not completely straight, but also not like this. I prefer just a slight bend, so not completely straight, not completely bent. Just a slight bend, and bring them up to about shoulder height, and then down. You could do it two ways. You could do it with your shoulders kind of rounded out front, and this will place most of the stress on your actual lateral deltoid, or you could do it with your shoulders back like this. And let me see, better angle for you. With your shoulders back like this and go up. The problem with this is that this allows your upper trap to also be aiding in the work. So if you're looking to really isolate that shoulder, the option where you're slightly protracted might be a better option for you, although a lot of physical therapists probably recommend against this because it's not a great position to put your shoulders in. So I personally would just do it with your shoulders back and just try to minimize any contribution from the traps as much as possible. But with that said, that is the resistance training circuit, okay? So like I said, we went through lower body, upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body, upper body, okay? And then each one you're doing for 10 to or 15 to 20 reps if possible. Like I said, on the body weight movements like the squats and lunges, if you can't quite get there, just do as many as you can. And then once you finish that, you go on to the next. And then you can repeat this circuit about 3 times, maybe more if you'd like, 3 to 5 times. Just go through it and you'll get a very nice workout through that. As I was saying earlier, if doing it on a single leg is too difficult, you can also do it on both legs if you need to regress that way. And even if that's too difficult, you could do a lot of these seated as well. So if you need to do, for example, I'll pull out my chair right here. So you can get a chair, for example, bend over and do your rows like this, or your curls, shoulder press like that, or your lateral raises in a chair. Tricep extension and a kickback might not be possible depending on the type of chair you're in, but you could do your overhead extension like this. Okay, so if you need that regression to go back into a chair, that is okay as well. But eventually I'd like you to hopefully get to a single leg, doing the exercises on a single leg so that you can get that overall benefit of the needed stabilization to recruit more muscle fibers. And then, like I said, again, you want to be doing this alternating upper body, lower body. So which upper body and which lower body you do in the particular order doesn't matter as long as you're doing upper then lower, upper then lower. And then the last thing I want to say about this is if you are using dumbbells and you do have blood pressure issues, you have hypertension, one recommendation I have is that you don't grip the dumbbells too tightly, because if you're gripping them really tightly, this can also further elevate your blood pressure. So you want to avoid that, okay? So with that said, I want to get into some core and balance exercises with you, okay? So the first exercise that I have for you is a wall plank, okay? So again, we're not going to be doing a classic plank because I don't want your head to be at the level of your heart. I want it to be above your heart. So we're going to do a wall plank instead. Same principle, you're just on a wall. I like to keep my feet apart so I can squeeze my glutes again, and also squeeze your abs. And you just hold this. Hold this position. 30 to 45 seconds. And then, again, don't want to round your lower back like this. Also don't want to curve this way. And you do that by squeezing your abs and squeezing your glutes. Just like that. So that's a great option. If that is too easy, you can go into an incline plank. Okay, incline plank, pretty similar setup to an incline push-up. Find your elevated surface, squeeze your glutes, squeeze your abs, and just hold it. And this will be a little bit harder than the wall plank. You can hold that 30 to 45 seconds. That's a good option as well for working on your core strength as a novice. Another very good exercise to do is a side plank. Okay, so a side plank, kind of just what it sounds like. It's a plank, but on your side. So you're going to lay on your elbow and forearm. Feet can be stacked on top of each other, one in front of the other, or one behind the other. Doesn't matter, whatever is most comfortable for you. I also like to keep my hand on my hip like this. And basically what you do is you just go up like that. Make sure your hip is not dropping, and you just hold this 30 to 45 seconds. Again, you don't want your hip to drop. You don't want your hip to drop like this. You want to maintain that nice neutral position. Okay, so that's a side plank. If that's too hard for you, instead of doing it like this, drop to your knees and do it like that. And that is a good option, a good regression for you as well. And that'll work your obliques. Okay, so that is one option you can do. And then two other core exercises that I really like, that I personally do almost every day, are called the Pell Off Press and a cable walkout or a banded walkout. So for this, I recommend getting some type of resistance band. So you see right there, I have a resistance band. If you have access to a gym and you're going to a gym, or when they do open up again and you start going back, you can also do this with cables. So you have those cable machines. You just adjust the height of the arm until it's about your midsection level, and then pick a moderate amount of weight, not too heavy, but erring on the lighter side. And then what you're gonna do for a walkout is basically gonna grab the band here, keep it close to you like this, and you're basically going to, in a semi-athletic position, core tight, shoulders down and back, and you're just gonna walk out like this and take steps out. And this is what this is doing, is the band is pulling you this way, but you're using your core to make sure that you're not rotating. So it's known as an anti-rotational exercise. And then you're gonna walk back, nice and slowly. And then you can switch directions, switch sides, and then take steps out, and then back. And you can also keep your arms extended, which makes it a lot more demand on your core. So like this, as you walk out, okay? So that's a progression you could do. Again, on this side, instead of having it in here, this is a little bit easier. You can have it out here, which a little bit harder, okay? So that's a walkout. What you can also do is called a Pell Off Press, which you take your band, you take a couple steps out, and instead of just continuing to walk back and forth, you're just going to be extending and bringing back in. Again, this is trying to pull you this way, but you're using your core to make sure you don't rotate. And you can go slow, you can go fast if you like. I prefer to do them nice and controlled, like this. And then again, you can switch sides and go out. And it's really gonna light up your core if you're using the right amount of weight. So, only recommendation I do have though is, if you're gonna be doing that with a resistance band at home, make sure you really secure it down. If you tie it around a doorknob, make sure you tie it really tightly, maybe even double knot it, because I've had it happen to me where I was doing my walkout and it just kind of slipped out and then it hit me in the face. So make sure you tie it down. You can also try putting it in between the doorway and then closing the door. I find that's not as good as just tying it really tightly around the door as I have it done here. But those are a few really good core options that you should definitely try. And now I'm going to show you some balance exercises. Okay, so to start, we're just gonna have a classic single leg balance, okay? So you go up on one foot, keep this core tight, squeeze this glute, and hold for 5 seconds, okay? Again, opposite leg, knee up, core tight, hold for 5 seconds. If you can't bring your knee all the way up this high, you can only bring it up here, that's fine as well, but do what's comfortable for you and hold for 5 seconds. So that's just a classic single leg balance. You can also do what's called a single leg balance with a hip rotation. So you start off the same way, single leg down, one knee up. But now you're just twisting and you're rotating your hip and you're just opening up. Okay? Make sure you're keeping that core tight and rotate back. Okay? Now here, again, rotate out, nice and controlled. Rotate back in. Rotate out. And rotate back in. And just like with every other exercise I've been recommending, these you probably do 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps on each leg. After doing the single leg balance and hip rotation, you can also try a single leg balance with a reach, okay? And I'm gonna show you this aimed at my feet so you can see what I'm doing here. I'll do it from this side. So you get on one leg, here I'm gonna be on my left, and you're just going to reach back, okay? And hold that for 3 to 5 seconds. And then you can reach diagonally and hold that for 3 to 5 seconds. And you could reach out to the side and hold that for 3 to 5 seconds. And I'll show you on the other foot. So again, you go back, 3 to 5 seconds, diagonally, 3 to 5 seconds, and to the side, 3 to 5 seconds. Okay. Now the key to doing these, again, core tight, make sure your glute is tight. And also for these ones, just like in a deadlift, you want to kind of push your hips back as you reach out, okay, like that. Depending on how advanced you are, how much knee stability you have, and mobility as well, you might be able to go farther back. If not, going as far as possible is good. So you build up that balance and that stability. So if you're finding you can only go this far without falling over, that's fine. Eventually, you'll be strong enough to go a lot farther. And so keep working on that. Also on these, don't let your back foot touch the ground, just kind of hover there, okay? So don't touch the ground, just hover. And then another exercise that I have for you is a step up with the balance. So I have a little stepping stool here. You can use a stepping stool, you can use staircases, you can use a pile of books, anything that gives you an elevated surface. Basically what you're doing is you're going to step up and bring your knee up and hold 3 to 5 seconds. Again, core tight, glute tight, and do that. And step back down. And you can change feet. Okay, bring the knee up, 3 to 5 seconds, back down. So that's doing it. That's in the, what's called the frontal plane, or sorry, the sagittal plane, just up and down and front and back. You can also do it side to side in the frontal plane. You can introduce a rotation, and that's called in the transverse plane. I'll show you all the types. So instead of going here and holding, which is the sagittal plane, you can stand off to the side and go up here and hold that 3 to 5 seconds. Okay, once again, instead of going in front, you're going to the side and you're holding 3 to 5 seconds. Let me show you again. So stop, you're sidestepping. Okay, 3 to 5 seconds. and back. And then for the transverse plane, so instead of going just a classic front standing up, you can stand off to the side. And what you do is you twist and then you go up and hold and you come back down. So again, twist and go up and hold. And that's doing it in the transverse plane. All this is doing is introducing that rotation that requires a little bit extra stability. And boom, hold. Okay, so those are step ups with balance. Those can be a great way to improve your balance. And then the last exercise and the last balance exercise that I have for you today is a lunge with a balance. So just like I was showing you earlier, for a lunge, go down, and then you come up and hold the lunge, or hold this up position. You go down, do your lunge, and you come up and you hold it. Yeah, again, down, do your lunge, push back up and hold. Okay, now you can also try it with the reverse lunge. So go down here and then come up and hold. Reverse lunge, down, come up and hold. Either or, both options work. Like I said, if you have pain doing a forward lunge in that front knee, then you can do the reverse lunge and totally fine. So that said, those are all the exercises I have for you today. Before I go, I want to reiterate a few more points. So again, for all of these exercises, like I said earlier, you want to be within that 60-ish% of your heart rate max zone. And the way you can monitor that without having to do a lot of extra work is just if you can have a conversation and finish complete sentences, then you're likely in that right range. You're not working out too hard to where you're gasping for air. I can't finish a sentence and whatnot. So that's that region that I want you to be in. If you're for frequency, I would prefer if you do roughly 5 days a week for 40 to 60 minutes a day, if possible, if you have the time for that. You can mix and match whether you want to do the cardio with the resistance training or whatever. I typically don't recommend doing cardio and weight training on the same day, but since this isn't really like maximal effort weight training, you're not going for max strength or anything like that, it shouldn't be too big of an issue to do both on the same day. For example, you could do like 2 to 3 sets of the cardio circuit at the beginning that I showed you for about 20-ish minutes time, and then you could go and do this resistance training circuit that I showed you, where you alternate the upper and lower body, and that will maybe take you another 30 minutes or so, maybe 40 minutes, and then you could do that for your total workout. Whatever you prefer, I'm just giving you a bunch of different options of what you can try, and you can pick whatever you like and go from there and make it your own. And finally, something I want to talk about is that you won't see any results, you won't lose any weight if you're not in a caloric deficit, if you're not eating less energy than you're burning. So you could work out as much as you want, do as much cardio as you want, as much weight training as you want, and if you're not eating less, then you're not going to lose much weight. So, or any weight, to be honest. So that's something to be aware of and to really hone in on, okay? So with that said, thank you for watching. And if you find that these exercises don't benefit you, then there's tons of other exercises out there online, and I encourage you to go look for that as well. And then sorry, one last thing. If you find that these exercises are too easy for you and you don't want to train at this low intensity, I highly recommend that you get in contact with your doctor and ask if going a little bit more intense is okay for you. So with that said, thank you, and I hope you enjoy.